Have you ever heard a story so impossible, it makes you question everything you thought you knew about miracles? The broken bar is one of those stories. So if you believe that sometimes heroes wear janitor uniforms instead of medals, stay till the end, because this story will leave you breathless. And if it moves you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because stories like this deserve to be remembered. It began on a cold December morning in Side Street, Meredith Military Hospital, a place where heroes were patched back together after battles few could imagine. The hospital was silent that morning, except for one room on the top floor. Inside it lay a woman whose name alone could silence a crowd, General Evelyn Harper. A decorated 4-star general, the youngest woman in U.S. history to hold the rank. She had commanded thousands, saved lives across continents, a broken bar, but now, she was fighting a battle no one could win for her. Her body was shutting down. 22 of the country's top doctors had tried everything. Specialists flew in from Europe and Japan. They studied every scan, ran every test, operated multiple times, and still, Evelyn's condition worsened. Her organs were failing, her pulse irregular. Every machine in that room beeped like a slow countdown. The nation waited, soldiers prayed, the president himself called daily for updates, but each day brought only one grim answer: we're doing everything we can. And then came Ethan Cole, a single dad janitor, a man who most people never looked twice at. He worked night shifts, mopping floors and scrubbing hallways just to keep the lights on for his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Ethan wasn't supposed to be near the ICU, but that night, the storm outside was fierce. Lightning cut across the sky and half the staff couldn't make it in. The hospital was short-handed, and the head nurse begged him to clean up near the general's room. Ethan nodded, quietly rolled his cart down the hall, and slipped inside. He wasn't a doctor. He didn't have a degree, but Ethan had something no machine could replicate. He had observation, the kind sharpened by years of watching life's smallest details. A broken bar, because when you've lost everything, you start noticing what others don't. As he mopped, he looked at the general. Her skin was paled, but her face wasn't peaceful. It was strained, like she was trying to say something. Then he noticed something strange. The machines beeped faster whenever a certain nurse changed her drip. The monitors spiked, her fingers twitchy. A broken bar, but no one else seemed to notice. Ethan frowned. He wasn't supposed to interfere, but he couldn't ignore it. When the nurse left, he quietly approached the stand. The label read electrolyte balance, administer every 3 hours, but the liquid was faintly cloudy. Ethan's daughter had once been sick. He remembered her fluids being clear, like water. Something wasn't right. He stepped out and found Dr. Harris, one of the attending physicians. "Sir," he said nervously, "I think the might be wrong." Dr. Harris barely looked up from his tablet. "You're a janitor, right? Please, stay in your lane." Ethan nodded, embarrassed, and went back to his cart. But he couldn't shake the thought. Hours later, when the general's condition suddenly worsened again, he knew he had to act. He grabbed his phone, took a picture of the and secretly called a friend, a retired nurse named Mrs. Dyer, who lived 2 blocks away. She came rushing to the hospital, furious that no one would listen to him. "That's not an electrolyte solution," she gasped after seeing the picture. "That's a medication mix meant for stabilizing patients with a completely different condition. If she's allergic to it, it could shut down her organs." Ethan's heart raced. He stormed back into the ward, his voice trembling but loud. "Stop the drip. You're poisoning her." Everyone froze. Doctors turned. The head nurse gasped. But before anyone could dismiss him again, Mrs. Dyer barged in with her old credentials and pointed out the chemical imbalance on the label. Within seconds, the lead doctor confirmed it. The label had been switched. Someone had been sabotaging the general's treatment. They immediately flushed the stabilized her vitals, and within hours a broken bar, her heart rhythm began to normalize. For the first time in weeks, her body started to recover. The staff was stunned. Investigators rushed in. Turns out, one of the nurses had been secretly working for a defense contractor who wanted General Harper silenced before she could testify about a corruption scandal involving billions of dollars in missing funds. But the plan had failed, because a janitor noticed what 22 doctors didn't. Days later, when General Harper finally woke, her voice was faint but steady. "Who saved me?" she whispered. The nurse smiled. "You wouldn't believe it, "Ma'am." A janitor. When she asked to see him, Ethan stood in the doorway, still wearing his stained blue uniform, clutching his mop handle nervously. She looked at him, eyes welling with tears, and said softly, "You saw what no one else did. You saved my life." Ethan smiled awkwardly. "I just noticed something strange, ma'am." Anyone would have done the same, but she shook her head. "No, Mr. Cole." Most people would have looked away. "You didn't." A week later, the president invited Ethan and his daughter Lily to the White House. He was awarded the Medal of Civilian Honor, the highest recognition for bravery outside the military. The general herself pinned it on him, tears streaming down her face. But when the reporters asked Ethan how it felt to save a hero, he simply said, "Heroes aren't the ones people write about. They're the ones who do the right thing when no one's watching." And that's what makes this story unforgettable. So if this story touched your heart, hit that like button, because kindness deserves to go viral. Subscribe for more stories like this, stories that remind us that no act of goodness is ever too small, because sometimes it's not the rank on your shoulder that defines you, a broken bar, but the heart beating quietly beneath it. This was the story of the janitor who saved a general when the world had given up.